Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today. Today on the podcast, we're diving into an extraordinary event that highlights the relentless pursuit of excellence, safety, and best practice within the UK Fire and Rescue Service. This is the National Breathing Apparatus Challenge. Now, this is a special two-part episode dedicated to this incredible competition, which brings together firefighters from across the UK to test their skills, teamwork, and knowledge in real-world firefighting scenarios. As part of this event, teams of 5 firefighters from different brigades and services around the UK do battle to find out who will be the best breathing apparatus team of 2024. Now, the challenge is to navigate the intensity of a property fire with just 30 minutes to extinguish the flames and rescue casualties. What makes this event stand out is not just the competition, but its core mission of promoting best practice in breathing apparatus and ensure firefighting safety at every single level. The event itself, proudly sponsored by Drager UK and supported by the Firefighters charity, focuses on critical aspects like incident command, fireground procedures, engine control, and BA wiring. Teams will be rigorously assessed by national experts from across the Fire and Rescue Service with their skills in technical execution, practical handling, and leadership under fire, all put to the ultimate test. In today's first episode, we'll take you behind the scenes of the intense and inspiring event. We'll explore how teams prepare, we'll speak to people before the event, the high standards they've got to meet, and in our follow-up episode, we'll hear a conversation with 2 of the organisers and assessors as we break down where this event came from and how it has grown to the incredible event that we see every year at the Fire Service College. So stay with us over these 2 episodes as we showcase what it truly means to hunt continuous improvement and embody best practices in one of the most challenging aspects of firefighting. We'll see you on the other side.
John Taylor, South Yorkshire Fire and Rescue Service.
John, how long have you been coming to this challenge, brother?
Since 2011.
My lord, why on earth do you keep coming back?
You learn something new every year.
Yeah.
To me personally, it's the most important thing. If we can learn one thing new every year, it's going to make us safer firefighters, better firefighters, and what a place to do it.
Hey, I always think that every guest I always speak to, I'm like, take a little nugget away, because you'll forget 90% of it, won't you? Always.
Absolutely.
Every interaction.
Yeah.
I always think with PowerPoint presentations, it's like 80% of it goes straight over your head, but you hear that one thing, or you see that one thing, and you're like, I'm going to remember that.
Yes.
So, how have you seen it develop since the first time we had the challenge?
Oh, massively. Yeah. So, cut a long story short, my old station officer, he was one of the original people that started it.
Nice.
Probably did 2 or 3 years that, and then
who is
myself.
It, so we can give credit to him?
Des Omar.
Des.
So Des started South Yorkshire station officer. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant gentleman. Started it with another couple of colleagues from West Midlands. Beautiful. And it all just developed from there. Yeah. We probably started coming, I think it was the 3rd year of it. Did really, really badly, horrendously.
That's honest. That's
okay. Yeah. So
it's hard to know what good looks like, because, like you're saying, we're seeing teams here from all over the UK. You know, I think there's 19 teams here this year from almost most services. I think Manchester's the only one that's got two teams in. But we all go to the same fires in the UK in theory. Of course, there's a wide spectrum, but the variation of techniques, comprehension of fire behaviour, the range of fundamentals that gets taught in each service is, you know, if bloody gas cooling's still in, or if it's directional searching, or if it's off pat, or if it's, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then it's so hard to agree a metric of success.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, when it comes down to it, we learnt so much, and like I said, the first year we came last in our own hothouse in South Yorkshire. There were 6 teams, and we were terrible. And cut a long story short,
Define terrible. Nobody got hurt.
Oh well, nobody got hurt.
Yeah.
I can't even remember if we rescued somebody or not. But the instructors from West Midlands sort of took me and my BA partner Joe under their wing, and they developed us. And 1 year later, we won it. We won the Nationals. So within a year, we went from dead last to winning it, and that was brilliant. That was the first time we came to Moreton. Yeah. We did it in the house, sort of thing. We went round, rescued some casualties, put some fires out. So if you had to try and
compress some of those quick learnings that you took away from those first ones, of course, the scenarios change each year, the metrics are similar, and obviously it's all under a cloud of secrecy to try and challenge people, but what were some of those big shifts that you found that you were like, wow, I thought I was a good BA wearer, or I felt safe and competent, but I didn't think about this?
Yeah, one of the big ones were, what's the thing that's going to kill you, which is the fire.
Yeah.
Get to the fire, put the fire out. Yeah. Let's get it ventilated. Let's make everything safer. If you can search a room with your eyes it takes 10 seconds. If you search a room using your feet and your hands, you might be in for 3-4 minutes before you move on.
Did you ever hear the combine harvester analogy for
Absolutely,
it?
yeah. Stop the combine.
Put
Exactly.
It out. Stop the combine. Put it out. The thing that's causing all the contamination, all the poor respiratory, all the irrespirable atmosphere. Put the danger out.
Yes.
And then go search for everybody afterwards.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's get to it.
So we're
Put
talking
it out.
speed of attack there.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And that's what they taught us. That was one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
Put the thing out, make progress, get it out, come back, start to your search. Yeah. Search for your casualties, bring your casualties out.
So who have you got with you this year? Let's give a shout out to some of the members of the team.
So I've got Watch Manager Joe Swarbrick.
Yep.
He was.
Why do I know that name? Joe Swarbrick.
He used to be in Leicestershire. So he started in South Yorkshire. Transferred to Leicestershire, did about 5 or 6 years in Leicestershire, and he's just come back to South Yorkshire a couple of years ago. Yeah. Kim Wilkinson, who's my BA partner, Luke Porter, who's entry control officer, and then we've got Jamie Cheetham, who's our driver. So 5 of us, well-established team.
So how's gone training for it?
Sorry?
How has the training gone for it?
All right, to be honest. I mean, the biggest thing is about NBAC, in my opinion, is one of the biggest things they say, treat it like a job.
Okay.
So nothing fancy.
Don't try and tick box. Yeah.
Don't try and tick box. Just literally turn up, 2 BAs, 1 hose reel. Let's get in and get it done. Yeah. And it's them basic foundations of firefighting.
Yeah.
Nothing fancy. Let's get in and get it done. And I think that's really, really good. You know, it doesn't. They don't try and teach you anything fancy. Just let's be safe. Let's go home to our families at the end of the shift.
Safe and effective.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think it's that effective bit that we struggle with in a lot of services now.
Yes.
We've gotten very, 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 very safe.
Yes.
And we're spending 5 minutes at the door, check this, check that, chat with each other, look in, look out, check with the tick, high five, bit of gas calling, shut the door again.
Yeah, all that time the fire's developing and it's getting worse and it's worse and worse. Yeah.
Are you expecting to open the door and someone's going to pop out and say hello after you've checked 7 times?
Well, it's like what I said to my recruits, it's not like backdraft.
No.
You know.
Tell you what, We're not saying these things don't exist, but, if you know how to read the fire and you know what you're looking at when you get there, if you see it, ventilated out of the top bedroom, the likelihood of a delayed backdraft from opening that front door is significant. It's a ventilator. Get in there. Get in there, make progress.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things as well is hose reel management. People forget about it. If you're going into a property with 3 or 4 metres of hose reel, you're not going to get anywhere. So your number 2, getting that hose reel in, looking at the property that you're going into, determining how much hose you need to get to that building, to get to that fire, to get to that room. Yeah. If you can make that easy, you're going to get there even quicker.
I always say, size it up, length of the reel, you've got 20 metres to the coupling or whatever, 3 metres across the room, the stairs in most domestics are going to be after the next room.
Yeah.
The stairs in these, you'll have to travel through 1 or 2 compartments, so you're going to need at least to the coupling, get you to the stairs, coupling in a bit to get to the first floor. Usually on a lot of properties, a lot of domestic dwellings in the UK.
Yeah.
Once you've got that and you haven't even got to be able to see it.
No.
Just run it through your hand, feel it. Foot on the other end, right, ready to go.
Yeah, I always say if you can get that first coupling to the bottom of the stairs,
you magic.
You've got 18 to 20 metres there.
Yeah,
you're going to get there. You're going to get there in a normal domestic, and it's going to make things easier for you.
Well, best of luck with this weekend, brother.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to catching up with you later, and hopefully you'll have a medal in your hand.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, anyway. All the best. It's my last year as well, so fingers crossed.
Brother.
Thank you very much.
This episode is brought to you in partnership with Godiva Limited. Godiva is one of the world's leading providers of specialist equipment for emergency services market. Renowned for innovation, quality and reliability, Godiva produces a comprehensive range of fire pumps, including vehicle-mounted, portable, and their cutting-edge integrated total water flow control system, SAMFlows. I've been using Godiva my entire career as a reliable pump on the fire ground. It is such a crucial element of a successful firefighting team that you want to empower your crews with the very best, reliable, quality product. Reach out to our partners by checking the notes in the podcast. Now back to the show.
Ready to go,
Let's do it, baby. National BA Challenge. This is the second time you boys been back now. Did you come before last year?
No.
So
first, we were saying earlier, been in Gloucestershire for 15 years at the Fire College, and last year was the first time we were here, and this is the second time we've been here, so it's the best kept secret.
That's what I keep saying to people, as much as they put the articles out and the posts, I'm like, you're not punching through into the main scheme. They should have 30 teams here. It should be absolutely oversubscribed.
Yeah. And you look at the teams that come back, it's like the West Yorkshires, South Yorkshires, developed sort of brigades that keep coming back, so which is great for them because it shows their services really see the wealth in it and they back themselves, which is good.
We're having some chats with some lads earlier and they were saying from the first one they did back in 2011 or something like that, and then the assessors pulled them aside afterwards and the big focus was on rapid progress. Do you know what I mean? We keep doing all of this, standing at doors for ages, messing about with stuff. And again, we're not gods of knowledge. We don't know what we're doing. We're all doing the best we can with the training that we've got. But when you come around and you see all these different services coming together, what are some of the nuggets you took away from last year? Because you guys finished quite high last year. I mean, yourself, Matt, you and Kerry absolutely crushed it in the BA.
We came as a team. We gold banded, which we never knew that was, but I think that means top 6. So we performed well across as a team, and obviously me and Kerry managed to do enough to win the best BA. And I'll be honest with you, when we came out, I thought I'd thrown it for us. The bloke kind of, he didn't really give us much. He didn't give us much feedback, I'm honest with you. He kind of said, like, you're in there. He said I dragged Kerry around by a chin strap and I over a beer, and I was like, I'm not sure I'm taking that, but we did enough. But I can't tell you what I did anything different. It's all I did was how I'd wear, if I'm honest with you. We kind of spoke about last year that lots of teams we spoke to, they have like special things, special bags, and they kind of do things that they probably wouldn't on real jobs. And I appreciate, like all the sort of competitions like the UCRO and stuff, they have to have a marking scheme. There has to be something to separate.
It is. It can get a bit tick boxy, can't it? But then you're dragging it out of that realism, which is tough. But it takes you away from that speed. It takes you away from that rapid.
Yeah, exactly. That.
Make progress, get to the fire, ventilate.
Yeah, and that's all we really did, if I'm honest with you. We kind of got in there pretty fast.
Yeah.
And the rest of them outside were just doing what they were doing. So we did all right.
Cush, you ran the fireground last year. Doing it again this year.
Yeah, back for more.
How are you feeling about it? What was your takeaways from last year? Because I think you nearly ran over one of the assessors or something like that last year.
No, it's like last year. Obviously brand new to it.
Yeah.
Loads of energy, loads of movement, not always in the right areas.
That's some enthusiasm.
Yeah. So it's good. I think we get. The fireground's evolving, especially for a modern day sort of pump operator, driver. We get in this habit of turning up, putting the PTO in, dragging a hose reel off, putting a covering jet out, going for the hydrant. But the reality of it is you do what is required at that incident. So if we turn up and it's persons reported, we've got 18 minutes on a hose reel, and they're not using that much water. The trauma bag comes out first. Yeah. And we're casualty centred, and that's what I've taken the learning points, that you have a flow to an incident ground, and it has to be flexible.
Yeah. So I always say it depends. Whenever we're talking to students and stuff like that, and you try, because when you're working with students, you have to kind of be prescriptive and recruits. But after they've been in for a year or something, the depends starts coming in, because there is no hard and fast. I was having a chat with Lewis and Dave, and we were talking about Dan Stevens' report and gas cooling's on its way out, and I'm like, yes, we over-indexed gas cooling ourselves to death, and it wasn't. I don't think gas cooling in its traditional sense, just drag you away for a second, it's not a bad thing. Gas tickling is where we're getting it wrong. It's like we're not getting penetration, we're not making progress, we're not using it as a interior defensive tool to move with pace to the room of origin, see the fire, hit the fire. Do you know what I mean? We're doing this tickling thing, but I don't think we should throw it out, the baby out of the bath, because it is a depends thing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. There's a report I think the Danish did. It's called something when water goes up or smoke comes out. I'm going to butcher the name of it, but it's quite interesting to read, because they looked at traditional gas cooling.
Ricardo Weavers?
Anyway, I'm not entirely sure. It came out in 2017, and it was quite an interesting read, because they've got loads of data, a bit like the UL studies. They literally loads of data, and they've said high pressure hose reels, low pressure main lines, gas cooling or arc methods, how it's to train people. And they basically, in their synopsis of it, they said gas cooling is like the same equivalency of being a sort of marksman in the military, as in it's a specialist qualification, it takes a lot of training to maintain it, and realistically most firefighters don't have enough time. And it's not time, it's having the correct conditions and environment to train.
Experience,
if you're not going to have live fires, carbonaceous burns, it's great here, carbonaceous burns, but pyro bricks don't burn. No. We're only putting out pallets in a crib. Nothing else is burning, so we're not getting the same concentration of gases, the same heat release rate. It's not the same. But it's better than gas rigs and smoke, so it's that trade-off. And you're right, I do think it's overprescribed, and I think it's misunderstood. People don't know why we're doing things, and they don't understand.
It is the why behind a lot of stuff.
And that's where the depend comes in.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Gore-Tex Professional Fabrics. Now, we all know the working environment of a firefighter is filled with challenges. We face serious risks on the job, such as heat exhaustion, burns, physical and mental stress, and we frequently come into contact with high levels of toxic chemicals. Now, I have been wearing Gore-Tex for nearly 2 decades on the front line, working in hostile environments, tackling challenging incidents from firefighting to water incidents and in urban search and rescue environments. Gore-Tex have a well-earned reputation for protecting professionals in the fire and emergency services through their family of highly innovative, waterproof, breathable moisture barriers that exceeds global performance standards and are trusted worldwide. Gore-Tex, going further together.
Drag us back to the fire ground. We're talking about the depends, we're talking about the situational, and we're talking about the why. So the why behind what you're doing rather than just being prescriptive, setting up the ground.
Yeah, so I think everyone worries about water, don't they?
Yep.
The reality is that some trucks have got 3,000 litres of water on them now. Ours carry 1,800 or 2,000. And we kind of get it in our head, we need to get the hydrant in. And I do understand that, because historically, as a pump operator, it's the one thing you never want to do is run out of water.
Yes.
So once that's out of the way, it's like, I can focus on something else now, you know.
Yeah.
Especially with a modern day e-pump that cools itself and everything. But when we're turning up with 4, if you're lucky 5, and you're in rapid deployment and you've got all these other roles, you've got to be flexible in your approach and do what needs to be done. So if the casualty handling bag comes out, I might be, yes, we're focused around our crew and BA safety, absolutely. But my feedback, my take home was, if you can keep an eye on that gauge and it's not really going down much, like you say, it's seriously unlikely on a domestic house fire, that contains one compartment that you're going to be using anywhere near that amount, that volume of water. So what can we do to prioritise the rest of the incident ground? So that's where we need to be looking at. And is a lot of stress, and if you go to policy, you shouldn't be doing all those roles.
No.
Really, but the reality of it is we do.
It's the difference between the nice twos and the need twos. And like you say, when you look in National Operational Guidance or you look through the requirements of an entry control officer, this is the utopia, but no one's ever going to realistically achieve it, because you're going to need 6 or 7 people. That's when you've got 3 pumps on the scene. But that immediate deployment of resources, you need to prioritise, like you're just saying there, 1,800 litres, again, depending on the competency of the crew, but they should be able to get in and make an initial attack, at least be able to ventilate before they're even down to 1,000 litres realistically.
And the reality is, if we weren't on this scenario, you'd have a second, third truck in, and you'd be getting supporting sort of resources coming in. So for this particular incident, I guess last year they called it I think they called it a Starbucks flow, I think one of the chief fire officers. Okay. And effectively it meant that you have a flow to your incident. When you go in, you order your coffee, they ask for your name, and then you kind of work along. And I actually thought initially, I was thinking, but then I thought I'd take something from that. Yeah. So I'd take the feedback, actually have a flow to your incident ground, and then I would set up an initial attack, and then I would keep recirculating that. What can I add to it? What can I make it better?
Well, it's almost that incident command model of situational awareness, isn't it? It's what do I expect to happen next? How do I need to adapt? What do I think is going to happen in the next 5 to 10 minutes? What are they going to need in order to do that? If they're going in, the hose is bouncing all over the place and they haven't got out of the first compartment yet, okay, they are going to use all of this water.
Exactly.
Or there are a few squibs who've already heard back to them, they've reached the first floor, and you're like, well, they're going to be coming out with a casualty soon. So you need to adapt for that. It's not having these hard and fast rules. I like to say having that cyclic method of, I've done my initial quick and dirty base level instant ground setup, cycle back round, hear the feedback from the entry control officer, and start to develop a plan from there.
And you see it a lot with them. I'm going to say it. I've done my bit. I've driven. I've got the fire ground. I'm done. I sent some messages now, but it's not like that anymore. You've got to chip in and keep working. And situational awareness is exactly it. Looking at the building, look at the, what's happening, what's the effect, what do I need to get out? Do I need to get a ladder out? If they do need to bail out of a window, what window are they coming out? What can I do to make it better? When they do come out, have I got radial cooling water for them?
Anticipation, isn't it?
Of things in place, so the salt's in place, so their water's in place. You're looking after them.
I think with the water as well, we tend to, take it away from this weekend. If you turn up and it's coming out the windows, We know. I'm hoping most people think a hose reel probably ain't going to touch this now. It's breached that compartment.
You'd like to think.
I'd hope so.
Yeah.
But I know.
I always say though, you can get it right, or you can get a result doing the wrong thing. Like I did it with weightlifting for years. Like I had bad technique, taking all the wrong stuff, snapped tendons, but I got really, really strong doing the wrong thing. Yeah. And with the fire template, they all go out eventually.
Yeah.
And this struggles me when I sit in and listen in and assist on level 2 commanders, and there's still that script, 2BA hose reel, 2BA hose reel. I'm like, well, just roll me back a second. We're watching this YouTube video. Look at that. It's spread from the room of origin because the whole first floor is involved.
Is that sufficient?
Is that sufficient? And they go, well, I've done it before.
Yeah.
I know you've done it before, and I'm not attacking you, but I'm asking you on the understanding of what you're looking at, and on the loading, the fire loading within those compartments. Do you think that's going to be enough? Just because you've done it before and you got a result
doesn't mean it's the right one.
Doesn't mean it was the right one because they all go out eventually.
Yeah, and that's quite an interesting thing. On Watch, we're talking about tactical flow rate. Obviously, with Paul Grimwood passing, trying to talk through that through. Yeah. And so he's square it times by 5, really easy.
Yeah, Paul Grimwood's work. Yeah.
70 square metres is typically like a 1-bedroom open plan flat. It's 350 litres per minute, really easy. And it's but compartment firefighting, how can you guess the compartment? I'll guess we'll just guess the bedrooms. It's like, no. Strip it right back. Have a look at the building. What approximate size of the building? Yeah. And that gives you it. If you turn up there and it's contained to one compartment, happy days. You've got way more water than you'll ever need. Yeah. When you open that front door, it's open plan. It's going. Stink, you need that water. And I think that's the kind of...
Well, that's the argument for the flow rates that we achieve in high-rise, because we can get away with the branches that we use because of the theoretical compartmentation. It should have been held to the room of origin, so that will suffice for that. Yeah. But in a domestic home, open plan, windows fail, whatever, you've got no idea what's going to be in there, and the compartmentation is not going to be as good as a high-rise.
No. And it's open plans more common, and it's having that 360 as well, because you might turn up and smoke's issuing, great. But there's a good job a few weeks ago in Cheltenham, and I was the standing in, and we went as the day watch just to basically go help the fire investigation. And from the outside of the from the front of the building, it didn't look too bad. Yeah. And you were on the back, and all of a sudden we all stood there and said, "This highlights the importance for 360 because there's nothing left." There was a conservatory at one point, and I'm digging through helping the fire investigators, and this used to be a conservatory because there's a radiator there. So it's all gone. And it's all of a sudden it strikes home.
It's having that pause for thought and asking yourself if you're deploying from the right avenue as well. What's the wind direction?
Exactly.
Am I going to send? Because in that analogy there, it's all going like hell at the back. Wind's coming before me. I open the front door. Well, the BA crew can walk in straight into it. Yeah. For an extra 6 minutes of deploying from the other side of the building. So just have that pause for thought.
It's one of them things where it's really easy to say, 360, but then actually you see it for real. Yeah. And it's like, okay. It just reaffirms that, which we all know we should be doing anyway. But it just confirms that things can be.
So what time are we running tomorrow?
3:30, last run of the day.
3:30. Do we think it's going to have cooled down by then? I don't know what the weather's looking like tomorrow.
Last year. No, it was hot.
It'll be bouncing.
Yeah, it was bouncing last year. We got in there.
All the passives are active as the building's nice and hot.
We had some pallets left over last year. Just chopped them all on.
Yeah, we kind of got in the fire room last year. It was quite nice to kind of, we just followed the heat. There was no real flow path because it closed it all down. Yeah. But we found a door on the bottom floor, it's about 100 degrees, small fire, put it out, found a casualty. Then our brief was to go to the first floor because you could see that's where it was. Yeah. And literally we got up there, we went left, the door was like 100 degrees, next door was 200 degrees, and these are steel doors with pyro brick walls, and it opened up and it was warm. Yeah. I put a pulse up and I was like, yep, here we go. I mean, the pretty much crawled in.
Well, my hope is for the teams that do go in the latter parts of the day, they'll start to understand those fundamentals, and we echo back to John McDonough and people like that around getting low and stepping away from this BA shuffle as a constant hard and fast rule. Because it'll push you back. It'll be just way too hot in there. And it's not that you can't progress, but that's like we were talking before this conversation. Get in low, effective gas cooling, pushing it back.
Get in there and put it out.
Yeah. Those things are going to ring true, hopefully, for people that go later on in the day, because you don't want them to draw in not having achieved a rescue or anything like that, because it will be bloody hot in the afternoon.
Yeah, it will get warm, and it's interesting because having some conversations about that on Watch about the BA shuffle, is it fit for purpose?
Well, in a group that you and I are working in,
and that kind of prompted it. And I thought, actually, let's have a look at our American brothers and sisters, and they do things, and you might say, it's a bit this, a bit that, but actually, in reality, when it gets hot, we all know it forces you to the ground, so we naturally start crawling. We do because it's hot. Yep. It is only so long you can take temperature around your lobes, even though you're wearing a helmet and a flash hood. It's hot. Yeah. We get down. if nothing else, the condensation on your face piece you can't see.
Yeah.
And you watch them crawl around and think, actually, there's something to that.
Yeah.
And we got no awareness.
But when I was at that Lancashire event this year, last year, it does become a fitness and mobility conversation.
Yes,
Can you get down and manoeuvre a hose, even in a straight line?
Yeah.
Even if it's just a hose reel, let alone a 45, 52, whatever you use in your service, working as a team of two, staying low, driving off that back leg and advancing down just 5 or 10 metres, you really will be blowing out of your behind.
I think we've had conversations about that, me and Cush have, about readiness. It's a very important thing.
Operational readiness.
And I think sometimes it's not emphasised enough.
No.
Is that you can never be too fit for a job that can kill you. And that sounds really cliche, but it's true. Let's be honest.
That was a mic drop there.
Yeah,
but it's true.
It's true.
It
sounds really cliche.
It sounds
but
like
it's real.
a personal attack is the problem.
Yeah, but it's not.
Because when we talk back around people that have passed and stuff like that, they met the requirement, they met the fitness level within the service. But I constantly say this, dragging 55 kilo dummies, no testing on mobility and stuff like this. I'm like, we're setting people up to fail. 80-90% of incidents, they're not going to be that hard. They'll stay in the room of origin, whatever, and you'll get away with your shuffle, everybody okay, let's keep going there, But for the ones that really matter, like when they're going to be testing you guys and girls tomorrow in some of the toughest of conditions, these fundamentals, that level of mobility, there's a lot of fit and healthy people in the room, and it starts to feel a little bit elitist, but there's the reason these people and you guys and girls are at the National BA Challenge, because you're holding yourself to a higher standard with respect. Do you know what I mean? And that's just one of the things that frustrates me. It's something I think we should be doing a lot more with recruits. Starting with the end in mind. When you're working with the recruits on day one and you're teaching about pumps, the first time they put a hose in their hand, right, hand on the top, and I want you to get down and I want you to move forward. Not just waddling around the yard, because that's the muscle memory starting from day one.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Right, good luck tomorrow, fellas, and I'll speak to you after the weekend.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers.
This episode is brought to you in partnership with MSA Safety. Today we have them to thank for the improved firefighter safety through connectivity in their brand new connected firefighter system. At the centre of the connected firefighter platform is the MSA M1 SCBA with telemetry. That integrates straight in with the Luna system, which is a wireless all-in-one device creating an independent search and rescue network, providing edge detection, enhanced personal thermal imaging, while simplifying post-scene reporting and data retention. All of this then plugs into the FireGrid system for cloud-based connectivity, real-time information, and data-driven decisions for the incident commander. MSA are truly taking massive strides in the future of improved firefighter safety through connectivity in the brand new MSA Connected Firefighter platform. Now back to the show.
Dan Jones, London Fire Brigade.
So Dan, you've come out from London. Take a part. Have you done the National BA Challenge before?
Once last year. Yeah.
How'd you find it last year?
It was easier this year because you've got an idea of what you're going into. First year, you're coming in fresh. You don't know what to expect. And London's such a big service. Sometimes it's hard to track down the people that have been in the year before to give you that experience and download their knowledge.
It is also, there's a benefit and a downside to the size of it as well, because London is such a big service that you kind of get stuck in that own echo chamber as well. You see this with Manchester and other services. So it's nice to come to something like this, see all the different services, all the different brigades, how they do it. Absolutely. What are some of the nuggets and the takeaways that you took from last year that you've maybe tried to implement this year?
Just a familiarisation, not necessarily with the individual venues, but just the overall, being at the college, being a little bit more comfortable, knowing what to expect each year. Knowing the people that are running it, how it runs, takes that kind of nervous. You still get the nerves, obviously, but takes a bit of that nervous edge away.
So last night you get given your times. You don't know anything about the sites. What site did you have last year?
We were over the commercial site last year, back over in the middle there. Yeah. Nice.
So you got NDA today.
Yeah.
What were you briefed and what were you tipped out to?
Fire and commercial unit. Well, it wasn't actually. It was an alarm actuating in a commercial unit.
Okay.
So turned up as we turn in.
Could be something, could be nothing.
Yeah.
But we know in this it's going to be something.
As we expect, there's smoke coming out. Yeah. Quite a lot of smoke. Quite nice smoke actually. Last year the wind was swirling, it was blowing everywhere.
Yeah.
It was hard to get a read on location of fire and what was going on. This year it was a little more straightforward in that the conditions are pretty still. The smoke was quite dirty. I think don't know what they were burning there this year, whether it was different to last year or not. But
so door was open, slightly ventilated. It's a big property. We've got ground and floor, so 5-floor building. What were your thoughts when you first arrived? You had a bit of a brief from someone when you got there?
First thought was, oh God, it's not all involved, is it? It's going to be a lot for those two.
Because you do see smoke issuing on the top floor, even though fire's not necessarily poured at the top floor.
Smoke coming from third and fourth, but the quick information gathering was ground floor, first floor, everything else is kind of out of bounds for the purpose of the exercise.
So we saw thick black smoke, strong pulsations on the ground floor.
Yeah.
Couldn't see any fire when we first arrived?
No fire, but really good indication from the responsible person as we arrived that that's your entry point. And if you go left, there's a stairwell down there. So that was incredibly helpful.
Did you think fire was on ground or first? So you got a stairwell. Do we know how many persons reported?
It looked like ground because the smoke was kind of tipping out quite strongly from the big double metal doors that we got at the front here.
Yeah.
So it looked like the ground floor percolating upwards. Unknown persons. Okay. So the idea was, and the brief was, fire suppression and then search and rescue. Let's get that fire under control, and then let's concentrate on those casualties and those conditions.
Interesting always to see as well the different sets, the different types of trucks and all the different resources everyone had. So you had just one team, because obviously it's only driving of a single truck. Wore two lots of sets, made a rescue as well. How did the BA team do?
Yeah, the BA team did fantastic actually. Really quick.
Two hungry boys, they did really well.
They were pretty keyed up for it.
Pretty assertive.
Had to almost rein them in a little bit, to be fair.
Yeah.
We talked about the set change beforehand and whether it would be doable or not, and they made it.
Because that's the difference when you crew across services. Because you guys and girls just come out, LDV comes out, set goes off, straight back on. Because yours are all personal issue masks, aren't they?
We're very fortunate in London that obviously we've got a plethora of resources. So
yes.
In a normal scenario, would I put those boys back in?
No, from a welfare perspective, no, we wouldn't.
We have plenty of resources with us, but on this occasion, persons reported, risk assessment. Those guys said they're fit, they're happy to go again. Yeah. We've got a plan in place that allows them to do that if they feel like they can, and on my judgment call, and they got back in, they made more progress.
Pump Up, busy job as well. She was crushing it. She's the second egress towards the end, looking for all those extra jobs.
So Nikki was here last year with us as well, and she came third in the category. So I
know Nikki well. Yeah, Untitled Fire Angel. She was at the Worlds recently.
Exactly. Yeah, she's a busy bee.
Yeah.
As we all know, like generally in life. So she whips around that fire ground, does a really good job. Yeah.
Good to see you guys and girls straight on the decon as well. I know LFB are really hot, with the advice from the union and stuff like that. Yeah. What sort of stuff did you guys set out for the decontamination afterwards?
So the guys should have had all their shoes set down so they can change out their gear, bag it up, get into that. They should have their half mask ready to go, their nitrile gloves ready to go as soon as they're out of the masks are off and they're up for that and stripped, all done. If they haven't got their boots, we've got buckets for their boots, clean the boots off, clean the sets off. Everything gets a good kind of initial wash over before it goes anywhere near a truck again.
It's great that we're really starting to fold a lot of that in, because once we've got that kind of decontamination fully ingrained with all the new recruits and everything like that, hopefully they won't have to do the damage that perhaps we've done to ourselves in the past, and we can set the scene for the forward. Yeah,
it's hitting that balance, isn't it? Between getting it right and not going too far, but absolutely, it's nice we've got an awareness of it now, whereas my old man was in the job and they had no real knowledge of it back then.
We always worry when that's going to catch up with us at some point.
Exactly.
Well, it was a strong performance by the London lot, mate. Congratulations and enjoy the rest of the day.
Nice one. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, mate.
See ya.
The team here at the podcast are extremely excited to announce our brand new partnership with Patrol Store UK. Patrol Store has been serving the UK's police, fire and emergency communities and first responder sector since 2008, providing leading brands such as Hikes, Magnum, 511, Nebo, Op Zulu, Highlander, AKU and many, many more of our favourites. They are now also supplying bespoke uniform, PPE and station workwear to fire services around the UK. So for all our listeners that are part of your USAR, your HEART team, your ISAR team, your armed response teams, your fire investigation, your NALO, your hazmat and all of the training departments that have got your own budgets, be sure to get the absolute best for your team at a realistic price by contacting Aaron and the team at Patrol Store and referencing the Firefighters podcast. Patrol Store will also be taking part in our listener competition giveaways, as well as providing unique discounts to podcast listeners. So for people that are always asking about Hikes boots as an example, that is one unique discount code that is coming to you very soon through Patrol Store. We've also got some incredible bags. I mean, the Op Zulu bags are a game changer. So the really Gucci and expensive tactical black bags that everyone's using in CrossFit workouts and taking to the gym and taking to stations? Well, they've basically got that, but it's made better and costs less, because they're not slapping some Gucci expensive brand name on it and it's giving you what you want on a first responder salary. Be sure to keep your eyes in the notes of the episodes for links to unique offers and discount codes. And if you're looking to buy well and buy once, be sure to get in the notes and head over to Patrol Store UK. Now back to the show.
My name's Paul Marcs and I work for London Fire Brigade.
So, brother, we're just talking about, getting this out there in terms of awareness, because it's the national BA challenge, but it's astonishing how many services you go to and people still haven't heard of it. I mean, what's the awareness like where you're from? Because you competed in this, you said, for 3 years before you now come and part of the assessing and condition setting.
Yeah, so like you alluded to there, so I've done it as a competitor for 3 years. Then for the last 3 years I've done condition setting, so setting the conditions for the teams that are competing, and then this year I've moved up to now assessing the BA. I suppose it's just a lack of awareness through the other organisations, or even in my organisation, of that it's even there and it's an option. I think we're finding over the last few years that it tends to be the same faces, which is fantastic because it does mean that obviously crews want to come back and they're getting something and the services are getting something out of it.
But you want to get as many people to experience it as possible,
100%.
so they go away as a champion for it.
Yeah.
They take all those nuggets as well. They see what another team's doing.
That's it.
You know.
And with the sort of like the principle of best practice and promoting best practice, which is our sort of like end back, if you like, our, what would you call it, our tagline, yeah, exactly that. So it is very much about that. So being able to get more services up here is going to be a massive. I suppose what we want to be, we're limited in the sense that we can only have 21 teams because it's a long day for a lot of the guys that are doing the conditions and all the rest of it. You'd almost want to be in a position where we're turning teams away.
Yes, 100%.
And actually first come first served, and if you're not quick enough, you're not going to make it. We do tend to find that we get, like I say, services coming up year on year, which is fantastic, but we do get the position where I think West Midlands this year have got a couple of teams, so they're doubling up.
They've got a couple. I think Manchester have got 2 teams as well, which is great. But again, it's almost like, well, that's such a shame that we haven't got another service. Well, where is so and so Shire? You know, where is this service?
Yes.
Where's that service?
100%.
Where's whoever time of year? Where's Scotland? I think Scotland here, Welshire here. I've seen some Welsh ones here as well.
Yeah.
London's is a great example, and people have this with any service or brigade. You can serve your entire career in one service, and it gets a bit of an echo chamber. And the way you've done BA or the way you do whatever is just the way that it's always been done. But until you get outside of your own little sphere or your own little bubble, you don't get to see those other elements and the different, maybe, I don't want to say aggressiveness, but assertiveness, the speed of movement. Some people with the focus on BA shuffle, the lack of awareness of reading the fire, whether it be moving through, staying low. There's many variations, especially with decontamination and what people are doing pre and post incident. There's many variations. What do you think were some of the good nuggets that you took away from the first 3 years that you started coming and doing this and like seeing the different ways that it's done?
One of the great things about the challenge period is that, you know, let's be honest about it. I mean, the comp is fantastic. You enjoy that thoroughly, but it is also about that social networking afterwards and being able to have those conversations and be able to bounce off your ideas and go, what did you do today? I did this.
We're not allowed to do that in our service.
Why did you do that? Oh, that's something different from our standard operating procedure. You don't know, so we do something slightly different. We've got slight variation.
And also different phases of ventilation. Some you don't use any at all.
That's
some
a huge thing.
Very aggressive with it.
And if you look at London as an example of that, we've been coming up here for year on year, and it's not been a tactical option for us. We've not trained our staff.
Trying to bring it in now, though. I think 2 years ago I was at West Mids on a TAC vent when I did my TAC vent instructors course. There was a gentleman there from that who was asked to try and bring in phase 3. I think.
So we're
trying to move to phase 3.
We're going to go. Well, so we're not going to call it. We're not calling on the phases. We're going to go PPV and PPA. So that's been delivered as we speak.
Really? Fantastic.
So London at the moment are up at the Fire Service College, and our TAC vent
beautiful
is being delivered. So we hopefully by the end of the financial year, so towards April, we'll have a third of our workforce then TAC vent trained.
That's the thing with London as well. You've got 6,000 staff.
Yeah, 5,500.
I don't know how many are actually operational, but it's a big. It's a big body of people to try and get trained, isn't it?
Yeah.
So many specials, so many rescue stations. You've got the boats, you've got everything.
That's half the aggravation there is being able to get a venue for the capacity to deliver such a vast number of staff.
Well, let's talk about venues, because I mean we're here. That's the beauty of the Fire Service College as well. Let's give credit where it's due.
Fantastic.
One of the best playgrounds in the UK Fire Rescue.
If you don't get excited by turning up here, there's something seriously wrong with you.
Please leave the job.
If you haven't got that nervous tension as you drive up that driveway, I can imagine it's like when you play in the US Open or something like that, and you drive. Or what's it, the green jacket one? I can't think of it. You know what I mean.
So we're still outside NDA. So we've got NDA, NDB, and we've got commercial. We're never going to give the game away because that's not what we're here to do. But if we had to give some general broad brush strokes, the sort of scenarios that people are facing over this weekend.
So what crews will, when they start their run-off, they'll be given a tip sheet. That tip sheet is going to give them some basic information, and they're going to be given that information that it's because
they don't know what venue it is up until the tip sheet.
No,
they're not told anything beforehand. The briefing the night before, no one's given anything. They just choose a time slot, don't they?
Yeah. So as assessors and condition setters, we're given our are Indy A, Indy B, or commercial. The guys do a draw.
You were here all day yesterday as well, weren't you? Doing all the
setting up and
fire loading,
loading the rigs.
Pallets and everything.
And basically, they get their tip sheet. Their tip sheet will allude to that today it's going to be a shopping mall with. You're going to be met by the responsible person, and that's all really you get. Shopping mall, normal time of day, it is as you see it. Turn up, that's all you get on your tip sheet. You'll turn up, you get met by your responsible person who will then give you as much or as little information as you ask for. It's not going to be free reign. We're not just going to tell you the whole scene.
This person's either a security guard or they're a caretaker. That's right. Drop the keys on the way out.
Usually, as a rule of thumb, it's always their first day, so they don't know what they're doing.
The fire plan is. They haven't got a layout for you.
Have you got a plan? No, it's my first day. I don't have anything.
And to be fair, I used to, when I was in my teenage years, I used to work as security for Mighty. Do you remember MITIE? They've got security sites all over the UK. And you just get dropped from one site to another, and just turn up to some massive empty commercial buildings. You do, mate. And then you just hope to God there's no security alarm or no fire, because you've got no idea what's going on.
But one of the biggest problems I think we have is unfortunately the three venues are very different. Which is why, like you alluded to yesterday, we were here and loading out. So not only are we setting up the cribs for the burns, what we're trying to do is make sure that the travel distance is similar, where you're going to locate the fire, to make sure
it is some element of fairness and standardisation for the teams.
Yeah, very much so.
It was easy for you because you were in commercial or whatever.
Correct.
Do you know what I mean?
But that is one of the battles that we have year on year by trying to set these scenes up.
It's pretty much a given that they've always got at least one or two casualties potentially somewhere in the building. It's persons accounted for or unaccounted for. Persons reported. It's usually some form of, we heard someone breaking glass, or we heard there was some noises inside the building.
I think I've only known 1 year that they've turned up and they've had no one. Which is not, as an IC, it's the kind of, for something like this, it's the worst position you can be in. Right?
What do you want to do then?
Is there a responsibility? No. I've just got to second guess everything. But as a rule of thumb, you get your responsible person, and they'll give you as much or as little information as you can glean. I think the trick there is actually to try and ask around the question. So,
what do you think are some of the best questions when you've seen people rock up to try and get? I always think ask better questions, you get better answers, and I use that as a general rule in life. Because you want specific information. You don't want them going off down a rabbit hole of arbitrary information about the cladding on the wall or something like that.
I think what we tend to do is we sort of go through that kind of checklist. You go through that, life, fire, building, or whatever mnemonic you want to use, or whatever organisations use. But they'll inevitably ask a simple question along the lines of, have you got any plans? It's almost like the stock question.
Okay.
And inevitably the answer is going to be no. I mean, let's be honest. How many times has anyone probably turned up to a building and gone, "You got any plans, mate?" And they go, "Yeah." It ain't going to happen. So.
Yeah, they're on the wall in reception somewhere.
Yeah,
okay, we can't get in.
I would allude to, and even if it's your first day, and it's your first day as a security guard, I bet you know where the toilets are. I bet you know where the stairs are. So it's almost like, okay, so that's my point of entry. You got no plans. How do I get to the stairs?
Yeah. When I go through that door there, where will my team need to go, left or right, to get to the stairs?
Yeah. Can you point to me where the stairs are within that building? It's asking
Have you seen
a question.
The fire? Do you know what is on fire?
Yeah. It's a question within a question, rather than. As soon as you've asked the plans and you get that negative response, there's this tendency then to sort of go, I'm not going to get any more information out of it. There's information available. It's just asking a more pertinent or more of a sensible question. Isolation of utilities. Do you know where they are? No. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No. Maybe I don't this time. Maybe I do this time. We seem to. Yeah.
Alternate access and egress as well, I think, is an important thing that I've seen some crews develop over the years, is to start asking those other questions. If something goes wrong, where else could I get my team out? So, have you got a set of keys? What's another way to get into this building?
It's all locked up today. It's all locked up, and the security lost his keys.
So this is the only door in and out.
Today it is,
Well, then we start thinking, is there an external egress in terms of a ladder? Is there, there's escape exits, the stairwells on the side of this NDA as an example. Start thinking creatively like that, not confining yourself to that one way in, one way out, in case your team do get into some sort of complication.
Yeah, massively.
So we've seen two teams roll this morning. Got a full day ahead of us, mate. Really appreciate you guys doing all the assessing and putting everything together. Weather's forgiving for us at the minute. But hopefully no one gets injured and we have a great day.
We can have 4 seasons at Morton in one day, quite easily. But
cheers, brother. I'll see you later.
Thank you, man.
Ever heard the quote that true leaders are readers? Well, we believe this is true. Listeners often ask where we go to keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening in the sector globally. So there are a few key publications which I encourage you to go check out. Now, if you're looking for insights on disaster management, fire protection and firefighting, for us, we go to Asia Pacific Fire Magazine. And when you're looking for the latest on the Middle East fire protection industry and fire services, it's Gulf Fire Magazine. And our quarterly check-in is with International Firefighter Magazine, reporting to municipal, industrial and fire training professionals. Now, next up, and widely accepted to be the global voice for passive and active fire protection, this is a good one. It's International Fire Protection Magazine. And finally, and perhaps the most relevant to our predominantly UK audience, I'd strongly suggest subscribing to UK Fire Magazine, reporting to the United Kingdom fire protection industry and fire services. We're really excited to announce that after a long-standing relationship and mutual respect, we've now partnered with MDM Publishing, who bring you all of these essential publications. Because in a world of change, the learners shall inherit the earth, while the learned shall find themselves perfectly suited for a world that no longer exists. Eric Hoffer said that, and I believe he was right. So keep growing, keep learning, and keep yourself in the know and at the cutting edge of what's happening globally by dropping into the notes. And as a gift from the podcast, you can actually subscribe to any of these publications for free using the link in our notes. Now back to the show.
Adam Clark, watch manager from Lancashire.
Adam, congrats on taking part in this one. So India was the location that you got given.
Yes.
First and foremost, why did Lancashire come to this event? Why do you think it's important to come to the National BA Challenge?
Well, just for learning more than anything, really. There's so many things you can pick up from taking part in the challenge, getting your debriefs, all that kind of operational learning that we can take back to Lancs and hopefully improve things.
Because Lancs is a great service. They've got loads of really, really great fire behaviour resources there, but we can't get stuck in our own echo chamber, can't we? So you come here, you get the networking, you get to see how other people do things, and you get put under that bit of pressure and some great feedback from the assessors, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly that. Plus, completely different galleries. So we're taking part in training in areas that we've never seen before that behave differently to the ones that we actually have back in Lancs. So we can all pick up some learning from that.
So last night you had to just pick the times. You didn't know where you were going. You didn't know what the briefing was.
No.
What was the first you learnt about the location in the tip sheet?
So you arrive 20 minutes prior to setting off.
Yep.
At a set location, you get given a tip sheet and a bit of a brief, and then you've sort of got to come up with a plan.
So what was on your tip sheet? What did you think you were turning out to?
We just had a fire alarm activating at a shopping centre.
Okay, so shopping centre, what starts running through your mind as you're on your way out to the ground?
Yeah, so shopping centre, as we're coming out, obviously we're looking at, it's going to be a big area potentially. We're turning up with one machine, managing weight of attack.
Yeah.
Are we going to have enough water to put the fire out?
Yeah.
Is it open? Are there going to be people within that location?
Yeah.
Major issues really, isn't it? Making sure that one, we've got we can rescue anyone that's in there. Two, get that fire out, stop it spreading, and do we have enough water to do that safely?
Because also, unlike when you go into a sort of a residential premise, something like this, you start thinking about wide open spaces, different ventilation profile when they're getting in there. So big open doors here.
So as we arrived, Pete, you probably saw us talking to the witness,
who was the
security guard, the responsible person for this premises, and got a bit of a briefing off him.
Useful? Did they have much information for you?
Not too bad. The plan was pretty poor that he drew, but but we can work with that. Got some information off him. Ground floor was set up in shops, so potentially a little bit more compartmentation. First floor was all open plan, so as he said, loads of oxygen, massive potential for big fire development.
Yeah. Persons reported?
Persons reported. He'd heard screams inside, so first message away, assistance
Was it taken as the time of day it is now? Early morning? Was it open? Was the public using it? Or?
Yeah, no, it was a Sunday, and it was closed.
It's closed.
Yeah.
So we're thinking these people may have forced their way in. They're not members of his team, or
nefarious activities.
Nefarious. So you gave a brief to the team. You had one team. That's all you had to work with. It was just a single crew. So a team of 2 BA. Yeah. What was the brief? What did they go in with?
Did a thermal scan externally. Picked up some hot spots. Off the plan that we got given by the security guard, we came up with a bit of a right-hand brief. However, told the team, follow a flow path. If that gets you to the fire quicker, let me know you've changed your route. And
why do you think it's important for us to recognise things like flow paths rather than that prescriptive go left, first floor, isolate, because that can confine people, can't it?
Yeah, massively confine them, Pete, and it's straight speed, isn't it? We need to get that fire dealt with as quickly as we can. And if we can follow those fall paths, we're going to get directly to that fire. We've got an egress route to consider, but the team have taken a reel in with them. Yeah. They can follow that reel to get out, so we're not quite as concerned about that prescriptive.
Was this the only door that we had access to?
It was the only access point.
So I saw you'd set up potentially a secondary route of escape as well.
Yes, yeah. Got that at first floor level. Noticed there was a door at the end onto that staircase, but we set up a ladder there just in case we had to get the team out in a rush.
Yeah. Proud of what the team did? How do you think they performed?
I think they've done really well. Located one fire. There was one still burning, I think. They just started attacking it. Didn't quite have time to extinguish the second fire, but put out one fire, rescued a casualty. So, they've really worked hard. Believe it or not, the driver probably works as hard as the BA team.
He does, mate. I saw him sweating hard. He was pushing it. Look at him. He's still going.
I know, he's still struggling.
Here
while I'm standing here chatting, He'll just say there's nothing changes there.
Any feedback from the assessors? How do you feel it went so far?
I've not had any feedback yet, so following this, it's we'll make up all the kit, get some feedback from the assessors, and hopefully get some learning that we can take back and improve with.
Well, the team are all fit and healthy. Casualty rescue, fire extinguished. Congratulations, mate. Really well done.
Thank you very much.
If you're a regular listener to the podcast, then chances are you are big into your own personal development and the development of firefighters around you. So I wanted to remind you of our mobile app Drill Book. This is a free training and development resources made by firefighters for firefighters. Heading on to Drill Book, you will find incident debriefs, radio messages, knots and lines, quick reference guides, quizzes every single day. We've got useful links to the ERG, to Web Rescue, to Jessup, Euro Rescue, 10-second triage, National Operational Guidance, and not to mention our daily quizzes where you will find questions on extrication, casualty handling, breathing apparatus, fire development, water rescue, rope rescue, you name it. It is the go-to resource if you've got a spare 5 minutes on the firehouse to develop yourself and those around you. Not only that, if you're looking to get into the fire service, we've got advice on there on interview questions, interview answers. You can build your own questioning in there. And again, remember, this is built by firefighters for firefighters, so you can add your own drills in there. You can pick the drills that you find the most favorite. There is literally hundreds of training ideas, hundreds of drills in there. Remember, this app is absolutely free and it grows every single day down to the contributions of our thousands and thousands of users. It's freely available on Android, Apple, and you will find it in the links for this podcast. Remember, it's called personal development. The clue's in the name. You've got to work twice as hard on yourself as you do on the job. So always be growing, always be developing. Now let's get back to the show.
Sports manager Norcross from Domonic Norcross from Llanelli and Narberth in Mid and West Wales.
Easy for you to say.
Exactly.
So then, brother, first time at National BA Challenge?
It is, yeah. It's something we've looked at for a couple of years now. Yeah. Luke, who's in Mid and West with us, he's also Hereford and Worcester retained.
Oh, okay. And doesn't make him a bad person.
It doesn't make him a bad person. But he's the reason we're here. So
it's a fun thing to get to, and like you say, we've said before, Welsh is kind of out there on the outskirts, but they're really pushing hard with the Firefighter Challenge stuff, with raising their operational readiness and so many elements. So coming to something like this, what did you think it was going to be like? What sort of training did you do for it? And sort of how did you find it today?
It's our first time. Literally, we've never been to anything like this before, so it's a steep learning curve.
Okay.
But no, it's the best piece of advice we were given was treat it as real.
Yeah.
Don't come with predetermined
Don't try and
plans.
do a tick box exercise.
No, you just can't do it. Yeah. Because, to be honest, we were expecting a domestic house fire, the typical pull the tip sheet off commercial. And we were like,
here we go. Yeah, because people won't know, so last night all you got given, or you chose, was a time slot and a colour, but you didn't know what the colour related to.
No.
So we've got Indy A, Indy B, and then we've got commercial. So you got lumped with commercial on the tip sheet. So you say it came in as
alarms activating.
Alarms activating.
But there was a caller, so obviously it didn't come through as the panel.
Okay.
So we obviously knew there was a confirmed fire or at least smoke issuing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all we got given.
So we turned up here. It's a little bit weird when someone tries to entice you down a driveway like this and you're like, do I want to commit into there? Am I going to get myself into a bit of trouble? But made the right decision. You came up on this hard standing up here. We were faced with this. So technically we've got basement below this.
Yep.
So we've got ground, basement, first and second.
Yep.
Yeah. What information did you get from the person when you arrived?
Just that he'd put his head in the shop number 1.
Okay.
3 shops.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. They weren't connected, but you could get round. There's a corridor around the back.
Okay.
We got a map.
So is it two ways of accessing it, or is it just?
It's just in through this door.
Okay.
I think what they said, there will only ever be one access
one
or egress.
access street. Okay.
So that's you got to go in and out from the same. So yeah, he just said there was smoke issuing from there. He popped his head in. He could hear voices, but that was all.
Didn't know who was in there.
Didn't know who was in there.
Was it open, public at the time? Was the shop running business, or
it wasn't open at the time?
Wasn't open.
No.
So we think these people may have forced their way into there in some capacity.
Or they've just been after shift work.
So we committed first team of BA. We had a whole load of lines out. They committed with the hose reel. We also had safety jet covering jet out as well. Looking at where to get water from up here. Did they manage to find the hydrant okay? Or?
Yeah, they did. That was the other.
It's not obvious up here, is it?
No. They did give us the heads up that it's down the stairs. There's two, because obviously you look
bit
on
of a twitchy ball moment for the pump op as well, though, because it's like, well, yeah, I've got to go downstairs and run in as okay, and you just like start panicking, like, am I going to run out of water, kind of thing.
Yeah, but we've spoke about it as well. You know, we've got a good idea of time, as in, so you need water.
Yeah.
Especially with the hose reel.
Yeah.
So we had a good
lower
time
flow
frame.
Rate. They can manage it better.
Yeah. And it was a case of we spoke. If we're getting low on water, we'll just withdraw the crews. Mm-hmm. Simple as that until we get a good steady flow of water.
What was the feedback from the BA team? They made entry. There was a lot of thick black smoke issuing from as soon as they went in. So compartment fully involved, gone into flashover.
Yeah. Fire was venting off. And that was about it, really. I just leave them crack on. If they need me, they could get hold of me.
Nothing worse than when people think they're being assessed and they keep bothering the BA crew.
Yeah.
Just let them do their job.
Yeah.
So they made a rescue?
They made a rescue.
Fantastic.
They located the fire in shop 3.
Yep.
Made entry through the back, extinguished the fire, closed it down, so they could make entry. They could then proceed up the stairs for search and rescue of casualty. As they were doing that, the heat signature from upstairs was getting significantly worse.
Okay.
So we told the BA team they're possibly fighting a fire upstairs as well.
Mm-hmm.
They located the fire and the casualty. Casualty was brought out, and then a firefight. Then
nice.
Fire fought.
Any injuries?
No.
Everybody fit and well?
Everybody fit and well.
Good stuff, mate. Well done.
I'm ready for a beer.
Let's do it.
Jamie Chalk from Norfolk.
Sam from West Mids.
And Steph from Hereford and Worcester.
Awesome. Got to hold it closer than that, Sam.
Oh, the snake! It's not going to get you.
It's going to get tangled in your
So, folks, we're at a commercial National BA Challenge. You guys and girls are assessing at this venue today. We've been at NDA, we've been at NDB, we've seen lots of different crews. We've seen Lancashire, we've seen London, we've seen Wales, we've seen Hereford and Worcestershire. What are we looking at as terms of best practice? Because some people, whenever they go for a re-accreditation or an assessment, they think it's a tick box exercise, don't they? And then we always have this training mode, oh, it's not like that in the real world. So what is the sort of stuff we're looking at when we come into a venue like this and we're taking part in best practice?
So I'm doing the BA assessing, so I can only really speak from that aspect today, but we're looking for an arrive to perform. Treat it as you see it, treat it for real, react to the triggers that you're faced with.
Okay. So historically, we used to see training of, really slow BA shuffles, several door assessments, and then pokey, squirty, squirty, shall we go, shall we not go? There's a lot to be said for that speed, that assertiveness, not aggressive firefighting, but firefighting with intention, getting in, making an attack, ventilating. When you see people moving at a greater level of pace, is there any sort of feedback we have that reinforces that? Because we want people to go away from an event like this, take away best practice, and encourage their other firefighters to be taking on board a little bit of the things that they're seeing here, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's all got to be measured, hasn't it? You want that assertiveness and that speed, but you don't want to sacrifice
we don't want dangerous.
your elements.
Yes.
So there is a good balance to be struck. And you do get some services that will still stick to their procedures, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that if they're safe, methodical.
They're not dangerous, they're just not as effective, are they?
But
That's
they're
the
not
argument.
covering quite as much ground and achieving quite as much. Obviously, you've got a 30-minute window. So we bring it up in the debriefs, whether they've been effective in their air management, their air consumption to achieve the tasks they need to do.
What I love about the 30-minute window, guys, is that it kind of forces people to have that expectation that you should be moving to some sort of resolution within that time period. Because as we're sort of saying there, if you have this very, very slow, overly safe approach, you didn't keep it to the room of origin. Maybe it ended up spreading to the entire first floor. Maybe we lost the next thatch property as well. Now, they all go out eventually and the public are still going to clap for us. But what do you see when you're seeing people move with that greater level of speed in terms of keeping it confined and sort of keeping the minimisation, not only of time in there and decontamination and exposure, but also the lack of spread that you're going to get in a building?
For me, it's always about the safe, effective and efficient.
Okay.
So we can be safe, we can be effective, but we might not be efficient with the time that we have.
Yes.
So it is about using that time all very, very wisely. But for me as an assessor, whether it be on the outside today, fireground, or inside on BA, it is don't mark my sheet for me, let me do that. You deal with what is in front of you, and let me worry about that side of it. So
when they turn around and go, I'm checking the flow path, and you're like, don't do that.
Do what you would do, and let me worry about that. We'll have a chat about it afterwards. We're making sure that it was safe and why you've done something, because I don't know what's going on in here. So I can mark on what I can see, and then we'll have a chat about it afterwards for me.
Talk to me about going above fires, and/or commercial is the only one that gives us the representation of a basement, isn't it? Because we arrive on that incline and then we're looking at ground first, second, and technically basement. Does that give a spin to anybody when they're looking at it? Does it throw any curveballs for them?
It shouldn't do, because the way we brief those scenarios, or certainly when they're met with a responsible person as they arrive on venue, we give them the correct steer, because we're looking for a level of continuity across all venues at the college.
Yeah, you want it fair and standardised.
Exactly. And the building can give an incorrect view of what's going on. So it's up for us to make sure the exercise is appropriate to the venue. So, for example, today this basement area is deemed as a car park detached from the building.
Right. So already they're thinking it's fully open plan. There's no big fire load in there. Likelihood of spread is nil, really. Yeah. What about going above the fire? That's always something that people get very nervous about. We try to discourage. We hear the horror stories of people getting stuck upstairs. I mean, we've seen a lot of people put in place secondary egress routes. So if there is something that happens there, is it hard and fast rules about full extinguishment on floors? And again, we're not trying to give up the game about assessing, but I don't think it's always inherently dangerous to go above a fire, depending on the construction of the building and if you've got a team already working on it. Obviously here they're limited to one team.
We could go to factors. Like I said, there's so many what ifs.
Yeah. There's what ifs. They've only got one crew.
In a nice big concrete building that I can close the door down, I'm happy to go above.
Of course.
But if it's an old property with wooden floors, I'm not going above it.
Of course.
So and this is the thing. So treat it for
But you
real.
do say take it as you see it.
Yeah. So
and this is a solid concrete building.
Yeah. So it's definitely got to have water on it. It's got to be knocked back to a sufficient standard before we're even progressing past the fire. Yeah. Because the last thing we need to be doing is that to pick up and then come be.
But don't start rifling off. Oh well, I think concrete loses its integrity at 609 degrees.
These have
don't
been
worry about
a lot of years.
Don't worry about it. It's not going to collapse.
That takes us back to the natural performance aspect. Though, read the situation. It's essentially read the room.
Yeah.
You've
assessed it. You've stamped it. It's a solid concrete floor. Let's make progress.
Isolate, contain, up we go.
Yeah.
And I think Chalky said the biggest point there is we're not passing fires. No. That's the biggest thing. It's just 100%.
Do you see a variation in uses of ventilation? So phases, positive pressure attack, people wanting to do stuff? Because again, this is something that's harder to assess on because there is such a wide spectrum. I know in London they've only just started bringing it in the last 6 months. A lot of other services have had it in for a couple of years. Yeah. Do you see a difference in how it's deployed at scenarios like this?
Absolutely. I mean, as you said, some services still don't actually have use tactical ventilation. So
some are very nervous about it.
Yeah,
especially with phase 3, they don't want to put it in until they've got eyes on the fire and all this jazz.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a couple of aspects to it. I mean, already today we've seen the use of hydraulic ventilation from one team, so
beautiful.
People
forced
using that, forced ventilation, natural ventilation, and it's all taken into consideration as to what they do, as long as they do it safely. And I think the biggest thing is making sure it's being effective. Whatever you use, like you say, being scared of putting in phase 3, don't be scared of it. Put it in. If it doesn't work, you just turn the fan back out, and it's just reading the conditions and checking the effect. And that's what we're looking for as well. Them not just putting fans in because, like you said earlier, they think we want to see that.
You're going to put that in at the front door. What are you expecting to happen? So if I get an increase in the release of smoke from there, then it's having an effect. If nothing's happening, it's pushing that somewhere else in the building. I'm going to stop. Understand the why. So you're about to do something. What's the effect of your action that you're expecting? If you're not getting the desired effect, change your action. Don't just keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. It's the definition of insanity, isn't it?
It's a measure of the efficiency as well.
Yeah.
So as Steph's alluded to, we've got to be effective, we've got to be safe, but how efficient is it?
Yes.
So we can all stick a fan on and open a tiny window, but we'll be there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Is what they're doing working? Is the plan suit the building?
Everything we do training-wise, in my opinion, though, is I would never expect a firefighter to get everything right 100% of the time.
No.
God, no.
It is about recognising when things aren't right and adjusting accordingly, whatever that be, whether it be branch techniques, whether it be tack vent safety, whatever it is. If something's not working, change your plan, recognise, change it.
You see that with fixed templates around to be a hosio, at all your level 1 reaccreditations, because they're doing it on a virtual sim trainer of some form. But I'm like, so you've been tipped out, it's a commercial building, you've got some information en route that it is, got lots of clothing, or it's a sofa making manufacturing place. So high fire loading. Yeah, it's already ventilated, it's coming out the first floor. You want to use a hose reel. Okay. Not inherently wrong. Talk to me about your rationale behind that hose reel. Have you done the width and length times 5? Have you done why do you think you're going to do that? I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong, but are you just doing it because it's what we've always done?
Yeah.
Or have you actually thought about what you're going to do?
It comes back to, again, about I don't know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
So let's do what you would do for real, and then let's have a chat about it afterwards. Give me your rationale why.
Yeah.
And people, I honestly believe everyone within the fire service OICs and everything makes the best decision with the information they have.
Of course they do. 100%.
Hindsight's the thing that changes your decision. And so gain the most information you can, then come up with your plan.
Yeah.
And then if it has to change, and if it doesn't work, or it needs change, and change it, adjust it.
So within that 30-minute window, so we won't name any services or any teams or anything like that, are we expecting a full extinguishment? Because I know we saw that only once, twice last year across all of the grounds. It is a tight window for people to try and achieve that, but a lot of teams have made rescues, and I think a few have extinguished already today. What have we seen?
I think we've had two. Most fires have been extinguished, but not all casualties rescued.
With steady progress.
It's the second fire is causing the anomalies at the moment. So we've had a couple that have had them suitably under control, but perhaps not fully extinguished, because that's when it's been NDEX.
Are we happy with shutting them down, anti-ventilation? I've made an attack, no casualties in there.
As a term we're calling in the West Mids is, have you made a positive impact? Yeah. So that can be through a use of various tools, water application, anti-ventilation.
Yeah.
Read the situation, because we don't want to be in there if we're chin strapped or if we're
absolutely.
So let's make a positive impact. So that might be we've anti-ventilated, we're now withdrawing. So it's
There's been some good practice with anti-vent today.
Yeah,
demonstrated,
nice. Because again, it is something that it's terminology that we're not just playing clever buzzword games. Do you know what I mean? But it's some terminology that people aren't familiar with.
Yeah.
I think there's some great incidents going on. Thank you for all that you do. It's a great challenge. I know you've had some lunch, so we'll crack on with the rest of the afternoon. I'll see you at the end of the day.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
The Firefighters podcast was created to recognise, acknowledge, inspire, and hopefully even motivate these incredible individuals who have chosen to be part of the first responder community. Our driving purpose is to create a legacy resource for the current and future generations of firefighters and first responders. We get some incredible feedback from listeners and guests, and as the podcast grows, our desire to create longevity and sustainability means that we are asking for the support of our listeners. If you want to support the podcast, if you want to get discounts to our merchandise, hoodies, clothing, coins, patches, and also access to all of the incredible documents get shared with us from our podcast guests and sector leaders, then please head over to our Patreon page, and for just £3 a month you can support the future of the podcast. Please finally hit that follow, subscribe or rate button on the platform you're listening, and wherever you're in the world, please support your emergency services responders, and thank you for listening.